Al Gore popped up today, I think, today or yesterday, according to an interview with Think Progress. Gore explained that he would be voting for Clinton. Now, if there's one thing that Gore knows a lot about, it's losing elections with, and I don't like the way Raw Story presented this. It started to Think Progress, Raw Story picked it up. Listen to the sentence. If there's one thing Al Gore knows a lot about, it's losing elections with third-party spoilers in the race. Now, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And I get so tired of seeing online news sources reporting it like that. Ralph Nader, I guess Nader, what does it say here? Nader copped about, I don't know, several thousand votes in Florida. But Gore won Florida when the Supreme Court stopped the vote counting and cut off the rest of the votes. Gore was behind by 537 votes. Jesus, you know, this. You notice how this whole story is being revised over and over and over again. They're blaming it on Nader. They're saying that Gore lost to Bush. Never a mention of the filthy Nazi Supreme Court when they said democracy stops today. December 12th, that's it. Because if we allow the vote counting to go on, George Bush will be the injured party. And to this day, I can't understand why, at that particular moment in our history, we did not, by the millions, pour into the streets, surround the Supreme Court, and say something along the lines of, in a pig's ass, you're not going to take it away. Isn't it amazing? The Supreme Court is the one that ended representative democracy in this country. Now, if this would have happened in a different country, they would have had to call the troops out, and there would have been a lot of people slaughtered in the streets, because the people, whatever the country was, this has happened so many times, would not tolerate it. But here in the U.S., there was no secrets about it. The Supreme Court said that the vote counting would stop, even though the Florida Supreme Court said it will continue. The U.S. Supreme Court, I realize I'm making this simple, but I'm a simple guy, okay? The U.S. Supreme Court overruled the Florida Supreme Court and said it stops here because George Bush and his attorneys had filed a complaint, or whatever you want to call it, with the Supreme Court asking for immediate relief because George Bush would be grievously harmed if the voting was to continue. I mean, and yet, in this case, it's Raw Story. Other times, it's Think Progress. Other times, it may be the New York Times. Other times, it may be Huffington Post. But they still keep saying two or three things that are absolute goddamn lies. Number one, that Nader cost Gore the election. He didn't. The Supreme Court cost Gore the election. A. B. That Gore lost by 537 votes. No, he didn't. We will never know by how many votes he won by because the Supreme Court stopped the vote counting. But this shit continues to be plowed into America's consciousness, huh? And you know what? Eventually, those of us who know the truth will be fucking dead and gone and long forgotten, and this shit will remain. And historians and young people and college students will look back and say, yeah, you know, if Al Gore, if Nader hadn't been in it, Al Gore would have won. And shit like that. Anyway, back to this piece. Gore is urging everybody to vote for Clinton. Here's what he said, quote, this is in the interview with Think Progress, quote, I urge everyone else, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. I urge everyone else to do the same. I particularly urge anyone who is concerned about the climate crisis, sees it as the kind of priority that I see it as, to look at the sharp contrast between the solar plan that Secretary Clinton has put forward and her stated commitment to support the Clean Power Act, and the contrast between what she has said and is proposing with the statements of the Republican nominee, which gives me great concern, end quote. And in this interview, Gore apparently also urged voters to look at the consequences, depending on the leader chosen in November. He said, quote, I would also urge them to look carefully, as I know they have, at the consequences of going in another direction for the third or fourth alternative. The harsh reality is that we have two principal choices, and I am supporting Hillary Clinton. Again, I respect those who analyze the situation differently, but in my experience, it matters a lot. Well, Al, what can I tell you? You know, if Gore wouldn't have just rolled over and stuck his legs up in the air and said, okay, Supreme Court, okay, I'm just going to pack my tent and slip into the underbrush. You know, I don't know what the deal was there. Maybe, you know, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on now and pretend like I'm one of these asshole conspiracy theorist people like Alex Jones. But I just wonder if someone didn't get the word to Al Gore that the fix was in for George, and if Al Gore, didn't get the fuck out of the way, he's going to be a dead man. You think? Who knows? Who knows? But aside from that crapola, I remember thinking at the time, why? You remember when he came on and gave the speech? Gore did, the concession speech, and said, you can look at it online, but his mishmash of words was something, well, you know, I don't want to cause a problem. I don't want to challenge what the Supreme Court has said. I don't want to, blah, 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 blah. So therefore, I'm going to withdraw, or some such crap. And I can't believe that happened, but it did. So for Al Gore to tell me or anybody how to vote is, I don't know what it is. What is it? I don't know what that is. Arrogance on the part of Gore, number one. I don't have any problem with Gore's scientific stuff. I think he was the first prominent figure who captured or who had already the American consciousness or awareness, who brought up the horrors of global warming with an inconvenient truth. I don't have any problem with that. As a matter of fact, I greatly respect him for that. But where it concerns his tucking his tail between his legs and slinking off into the underbrush at a time when the U.S. Supreme Court was bringing an end to representative government, what the hell kind of a presidential candidate was that? Come on, Malloy. 16 years ago. Fuck it.